Good morning, my lovelies. How are you today? If you are new to my channel, welcome. Please hit the subscribe and the bell so you can get further notifications. If you like what you hear, please hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down, depending on what you like or don't like. Either way, it is interaction, and I look forward to hearing your comments on the content. Interaction's really important. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about self-love and about our inner truth. And I think there's a difference between the truth and our inner truth, but also just about standing up for ourselves and being in our own power. We live in a world where things have gone kind of sideways since my generation. I'm, as I've said before, 53, and so I've seen a lot of changes. And I find it really interesting, this concept of, if everybody doesn't immediately agree with everybody else, like we have to live in a vacuum of agreement, that there can't be dialogue around different subjects, and that people can't hold opposing viewpoints and still remain friends, and that be okay. And all of us are going to hold opposing viewpoints because we have our personal truths, and they all come from very lived experiences in life. And also know that not everyone is going to like us, and that's okay too. I am not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It took me a lot of years to quit being a people pleaser. When you grow up with a lot of dysfunction, the way I did, I grew up with two very narcissistic parents. You have a very skewed view of yourself. Actually, you have no concept of yourself, and your whole identity is built around pleasing. And so it took me a very long time to learn that I did not have to please every person I met or shapeshift in order to become a pleaser of all people. That once I discovered the real me and who I was in this world, I got to hold true to that person, and people were either going to really, really love me and embrace who I was, and the people who didn't just simply were not my tribe, and that was okay. And it didn't make them good or bad, it just made them not my tribe. And I could let them go with love and respect and honor. And even people that were less than kind to me. Because when people are less than kind to you, even mean to you, it's really important, and it's hard, and I get it. It's really, really hard, because I have been horribly bullied in my life, to remember that it really has nothing to do with you. What people do and say is a reflection of where they are emotionally, and it says a lot more about how they feel about themselves. And that's where the radical listening comes in. Now, they don't want to engage with you, so you can radically listen, and you're not going to engage and have a deeper conversation with them. But it gives you a greater understanding of what their issues may be, and you can have deeper compassion for that person and walk away knowing that it really isn't about you. And sometimes you get to walk away and just chalk it up to the world of, like, sometimes that there are just mean people and they suck. And move on. Not your tribe. Mean people suck. Move on. And that's okay too. And still have compassion and wish them love and light and hope someday they get it, that they don't have to be mean to other people in order to make themselves feel better. That's it. And you live in your power, and you live in your truth, and you go on and know that you choose to make people feel better and lift people up every day. And you continue to speak your truth, you know. So on that note, I want to talk about communicating your truth with people and conflict resolution with people that you love who are willing to hear you out. There are going to be people in your life who aren't willing to hear you out. There are going to be people in your life who try and gaslight you and tell you, don't make a big deal. What are you talking about? Why do you always have to stir shit? Your feelings aren't valid. And I'm going to tell you that those people, you might want to rethink long term how much interaction you want to have with people like that in your life. Because depending on the relationship you have with those people, whether they're familial, and even familial relationships, those are definitely unhealthy relationships. Healthy relationships are give and take, and healthy relationships are with people who do care what you think and feel, even when it's uncomfortable. But that's a long process, and it takes a lot of deep thought and a lot of self-love to get to the place where you start making those decisions, but they're important decisions. The seed I want to plant, and I'll always plant, is that when love is no longer being served, get up from the table. And I'm going to give you the same advice that a therapist gave me years ago, that anyone who's in your life is there because it is an honor and a privilege to be in your life. And if someone isn't treating you like it's an honor and a privilege, it doesn't matter who they are, they forfeit that right to be in your life. So just hold that seed of thought. And as you grow in your self-love and your true sense of self, keep those seeds of thought, because they will germinate and they will take on a power of their own, I promise. They didn't immediately for me, but there came a day when I really got it, and it made all the difference in the world. So I'm going to tell you a little story, and I'm going to leave it pretty generic because I want to protect everybody involved, just about healthy conversations about conflict. But I had a situation where um, I was struggling through some feelings I had about something that was going on in my relationship. And it doesn't happen very often. We've been together 22 years, and we don't fight, and we don't have a lot of conflict. We have little things that come up that have to be corrected, just like anybody else. But this thing had kind of been eating at me, and I wasn't really sure how to come at it. So I sat with it for a long time and tried to figure out the best way to have the conversation about it. And I mentioned something about it, and she apologized. And the apology didn't sit well with me, because I truly believe that when you apologize for something, that apology means I heard you and I'm going to change the behavior. But I happen to have known that behavior wasn't changing. After years of me having said things about it, it didn't change. So, I felt like we needed to discuss it a little bit further. So I came back at it after much thought, and I wanted to do it in a very loving manner, because this relationship is really precious to me. She's really precious to me. And, but at the same time, my sovereignty, my personal power, my self-respect, all of these things are very precious to me. And so with all of that in mind, I found a way to communicate my needs and set a boundary around how I felt, while asking her where she thought that behavior was coming from and what I could do to possibly help, so that we didn't have this problem in the future. And it led to a greater understanding in our relationship of what was going on. And then we turned to being more solution-oriented, which is something I talked about yesterday, on how we can move forward and not have that happen anymore. And you see, that's what you get when you do thoughtful conversation and then radical listening. I really heard what she said. Then I started thinking about solutions. I made suggestions. She came back with what she thought she could work with, and we together came up with a plan. So my point in all of this is, when you find your tribe, whether it's your life partner, your friends, the people you're associating with, you should be able to set your boundaries, speak your truth in a loving manner, ask for what you need, and be heard. You should be able to ask people what they need, and they should be able to be heard by you. You should be able to come up with solutions to everyday problems. If there are issues in the collective, between the two of you, you should be able to, or in the group, come up with solutions without a lot of drama and trauma, because everybody is coming from a really clear, loving place and wants the best for everybody else. And if it gets heated, if people's egos are getting involved, if people are getting angry, the agreement should always be that you will table it, walk away from it, and revisit it. You agree, okay, look, we're starting to get, it's going sideways. Let's leave it here for now, and when cooler heads prevail, let's come back to it tomorrow and talk about it. Agree on a time that you will come back to it. Let's come back to it tomorrow and have this conversation when we all have had some time to think and calm down, and maybe we'll have clearer heads and better ideas. Because we know that we all love each other, and we know that we don't want to say things that are going to be harmful and destroy relationships and destroy any chance we have of healthy communication. And I know that this sounds really utopic or pie in the sky, and there are going to be people who are going to be like, nobody can do that. But you know what? You can. And it does work. And I've seen it work. And so it just takes practice. But it requires of all of us a willingness to drop our need to be right. And also our need to look at what is our part in any given situation. Like, what did we do? What part did we play in the relationship or in the situation that may have added or lent itself to the conflict? Because remember that in any interaction, whether it's friendship or lovers or anything, there's always two people involved. So it can never be always one person. It takes two. And you have to be willing to drop your ego and this need to always be the victim or be right enough to think, what was my part? And own that, so that when the other person is talking and saying, well, I felt this way, you can own your part and say, well, you're right, and I will try and adjust that behavior. And I felt this way. And hopefully you're dealing with someone who can say, well, you're right, and I will try and adjust my behavior as well, whatever, right? If that makes any sense. So there's some conflict resolution, but more than anything, I kind of got off track, but more than anything, what I'm really talking about is all of that comes from having a good sense of self. And when we have a good sense of self, we can do those things. And when we have a good sense of self, we're able to set boundaries. And when we have a good sense of self, we're able to drop our egos and have those kinds of conversations. And it becomes easier and easier and easier. And when we have a good sense of self, we're able to choose people to be around that it's easy, to interact with, that it just naturally flows. Like it's not a big setup to have these conversations, it's the way I'm describing it seems like a lot of work, but it's not at all a lot of work and some big dramatic thing when you're with people who also think like you do, because they have a good, healthy sense of self and they've done the work. So again, I'm going to go back to start working on your sacral chakras. Start working on healing anything in you that feels the need to be a people pleaser. start maybe journaling about anything in your past that may have given you the idea that you are unworthy. Because I challenge that concept. You are absolutely 100% worthy of everything perfect and beautiful in this world. You are worthy of all the love and respect that anyone could possibly give you, because you're a human being, because you were created by a divine master. Simply because you exist, you are worthy. And I don't want you to ever forget that. You are worthy. Nobody ever should feel entitled to treat you as anything less than worthy, especially yourself. You have to believe in your own worthiness. So, with that, I am done. Just know that I will believe in you until you absolutely believe in yourself and beyond. I love you. I hope you have a magnificent day. I think you are beautiful. You are worthy. I think you are capable of anything you put your mind to. And I hope that you go out in the world today and give somebody a smile, do a random act of kindness, and I send you out with lots and lots of love. And if you start to feel down about anything, just look back at this video in your mind and think, you know what, there is one person on this planet who thinks I am worthy and loves me. And she doesn't even know me, but she loves me, and she means it. And that's Gwen. Gwen loves me. So, I love you. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.